Welcome, everybody. This is Pigskin Paisanos. I am Paul.
G-Man.
And this is G-Man, and we are going to talk about your waiver wire pickups after week one, your wide receivers, and there are many. There were guys that went completely crazy, guys that you might have never even heard of before. So, and we're also going to mention tight ends as well. So let's get into this because there are a bunch of names to mention, and so let's go with the man out of Cincinnati, John Ross III, who has really been a guy that people have been hoping to break out for a long time because of his blazing speed. This guy has blazing speed. He's always been a guy that people thought could break out one day, but man, did he break out week one. The dude he caught 7 of 12 targets for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns, only owned in 12% of Yahoo leagues. Why is this important? Why should you pick him up? Because A.J. Green is out. A.J. Green, their number one wideout, is hurt. As far as you know, he's still in his walking boot. He has not shed that yet. And so, we thought the targets would go to Boyd mainly. But Ross had more targets, I think, than Tyler Boyd did. And he really took advantage of it. So, look, John Ross III, again, this is his first game that he's really done anything on this level.
Yeah.
He's never had a game even close to this.
Maybe second. Like, he's had another game where he had, like, a big touchdown. That's about it.
Never. So, again, look, guys are going to throw down a lot of money on John Ross, I feel like. They're going to maybe, think that he's going to do well. But, again, look, because of the injury to A.J. Green, I would consider, maybe throwing down 10 to 15 on him.
Yeah, I was going to say that, too. That's probably
as far as fab money. Now, guys, in your league, you probably have something called a fab budget or fab money. Fab money is basically imaginary money that you can use in your fantasy league. Usually you have a budget of about $100, and so you don't want to throw all of your fab money on a one-hit wonder. And so this is why we're talking to you right now, because I think some of these guys could be one-hit wonders, and some of these guys could be used in multiple weeks. So because we think because of the injury to Green and the fact that John Ross finally broke out, consider throwing down maybe that amount of money on John Ross.
Somewhere 10 to 15
10 or more on John Ross III. Okay. So anyway, let's move on. A.J. Brown, out of the Tennessee Titans, owned in 4% of Yahoo leagues. A.J. Brown caught 3 or 4 targets for 100 yards.
On 25 snaps.
On less than 25 snaps, actually.
Less than 25 snaps.
So he took advantage of having barely any snaps. So I would say, and I don't know if Garrett agrees with me on this, but I would say that his role is probably going to increase. Corey Davis did absolutely nothing. Tajay Sharp did nothing. Really, that Tennessee Titans...
I don't think Humphreys did much either.
Humphreys didn't do anything. So everyone in that offense, minus Derrick Henry, really doesn't have a solid role
Delaney.
there. Yeah. All right, Walker, the tight end, okay? But so right now, as far as wideouts go, who is Marcus Mariota going to throw to? And it seemed like he liked A.J. Brown in this game. So, look, A.J. Brown, again, because he's a rookie, because the Titans are so inconsistent, one guy can go off one day and then they kind of phase out. Don't put a lot of money on A.J. Green.
I wouldn't put a lot of money on him.
But if you have an extra roster spot...
I think you meant to say A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown. Sorry. So if you have another roster spot, or like if you just want to take a chance on a guy and not throw a lot of money in, pick up A.J. Brown. Maybe throw down $1 or $2 on A.J.
Yeah, I was
Brown.
gonna say $1 to $3.
Why not?
Range.
Because who knows? Maybe his role increases and they give him more snaps. Whatever.
Right.
All right. So next on this list.
Next on the list, we're gonna go into 2 Miami Dolphins wide receivers. Albert Wilson is reportedly out with some sort of calf injury. So, in that game, the Miami Dolphins, who played excellent against the Baltimore Ravens.
Actually, guys, if you watch the game, they were dreadful. They're one of the worst teams in football.
Man, I must have read my phone wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, Devontae Parker, the Mr. Post hype candidate, had about 7 targets, had 3 catches, 75 yards, and he's only owned in Yahoo leagues 14%. 14%,
yes.
So, whether it's still going to be Fitzpatrick, whether it's going to be Josh Rosen. I think Parker could potentially, again, temper the expectations because he's done this in the past where you're like, oh, yeah, he's finally going to match that hype we always hear about.
And then he
him.
gets hurt.
And then he disappears or he gets hurt. So, you know what? If he's only owned in 14% of leagues, chances are he's available to you. Now, what was funny is that on the radio today, I heard a lot of Dolphins players, especially, I guess, I would assume veteran players as well, were in contacts with their agents saying, like, yo, like, get me out of here. You know,
Really?
because think about it. I mean, I think the writing's on the wall. The
I
Dolphins
heard about that too.
are trying to tank. So if you're a veteran, like, what's the average year of, like, some football players, you know what I mean? Or the average career of some football players? Not that long. So do you really want to spend what's going to potentially be, you know, you only have 1 to 3 years left of football, and you want to just have it all be wasted for the future? Okay. Not sure if Devontae Parker is one of those players. Regardless, I still think he does provide some upside in this offense because as of right now, if Albert Wilson is out for any prolonged period of time, Devontae Parker will probably be one of the most favorite targets to go to in this offense.
Right. And look, I mean, a lot of people thought that last year Parker was going to get traded. There was a lot of rumors around him getting traded, and then they re-signed him out of nowhere. So they obviously think that he has that skill set to still perform.
They see what he does at practice.
They see him at practice when he's not hurt. Yeah. So, but again, so pick up Parker. How much money would you throw down on Parker? Maybe a few bucks at most.
2 to 5. Just depends. $2 to $5. How much? How high do you? Some people have always wanted Parker to. Maybe this is their confirmation bias to be like, yeah, he's got
he could be number one,
right? In an offense that like is going to be playing probably behind, in a lot of games, which is going to force a lot of passing attempts.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, if Ryan, look, if Fitzmagic is playing, you know, he has the ability to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. But if Josh Rosen is playing, who knows? So, again, so pick up Parker, try it out. He might be the number one option there in Miami, you know, at least for now. So,
and as I said at the beginning of this, I'm going to touch into the other wide receiver that I think you should definitely look at. Someone who I made a mention in the Week 1 matchup between the Ravens and Dolphins starts this video, and I said a sneaky / sleeper start you could go with is the undrafted free agent rookie from Colorado State, Preston Williams. He had 3 catches on 5 targets, only 24 yards and a touchdown, but he had a very nice touchdown catch there. The guy is talented as could be. I've been trying to tell everybody for however long this offseason's been going. I drafted him when I could. He's someone that easily could emerge as like a name recognizable person. And I really like the upside with him too. Again, you're only going to throw maybe like a couple dollars on him at most because it still needs to get proven to you. And this is a probably pretty bad team. But the fact that he's only owned in 2% of Yahoo leagues,
guys, that's
and
crazy.
Because, you know, I'm like Mr. Rookie Scout, I would say I like him, one of the best rookie talents.
It's really good.
Go ahead and take a flyer on him.
Do it. Why not?
Another one we're going to get into is the rookie wide receiver out of Ohio State, Terry McLaurin. And he, to me, had one of the... Now, as we said before, a lot of these players are just kind of flashes in the pan, right? Yeah. They're going to have this crazy week. Everybody's going to go... Their stock is going to soar. Everybody's going to go wanting to grab a share of it. And then it's going to tank right back to where it should. Yeah. But Terry McLaurin, he actually could be, of all the players here we're going to go through that had big games that are on the waiver wire right now, he might be one of the players that I would feel most confident in just because of the situation he's in that offense and because of the talent that he showed coming out of college. So he's only owned in 6% of Yahoo leagues. The stat line in Week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles, he had 5 receptions on 7 targets for 125 yards and a touchdown. Could have even had another one.
He went off.
Had another play where Case Keenum overthrew him. This guy could have had already had a nasty game. Could have had a disgusting game. He is someone, regardless if it's Case Keenum or Dwayne Haskins at quarterback, I think this is a guy that really could eat in this offense. And as much as Week 1 was maybe an anomaly in some way, the fact that they did do this well against the Eagles defense, who are probably on paper one of the better teams in this whole NFL, I think he's someone that you definitely should look at. Put at least $5 at him. Maybe more if you feel as confident as I do. He could be someone that you're putting in week in and week out.
Yeah, for sure. And look, as far as like Keenum goes, I mean, as average as he is, he can have guys produce in his offense.
Yeah,
I
this
mean,
is fantasy we're talking about. This is real life.
We saw how he was with Diggs, for example, in Minnesota. We saw how he was with Sanders in Denver. Like,
Yep.
you know, guys can produce with Case Keenum there. So if this guy, you know, winds up being the number one here, I mean, he could provide pretty good numbers for you.
Could be great value.
Yeah,
This could be a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, so why not, you know? So next on our list, next on our list is Danny Amendola, the ex-Patriot. Okay, so Danny Amendola is owned in 7%.
The ex-Dolphin,
Ex-Dolphin,
the ex-Ram.
ex-everything, right? Yeah, sorry. So owned in 7% of Yahoo leagues. Okay, now check this out. He caught 7 of 13 targets. He had 104 yards and a touchdown against the Cardinals. Now, don't throw too much money on Danny Amendola. Why? Because he's always kind of been that guy that just fills in randomly and does well.
This was the Cardinals'
This was the Cardinals' defense.
Which,
Cardinals are not a good defense, guys. Also, you know, there were a lot of guys that got work on the alliance in like this game. Like the ball was spread around a lot, but it was very surprising that he got 13 targets. Maybe he becomes
something you guys want to check out with, as me and Paul.
Yeah.
The reason why we keep bringing up targets, because some people just want to hear, well, how many, you know, I'm not getting points
Yards
for targets,
and
yards, touchdowns, receptions. But you got to keep in mind, like, if you can see week over week that a guy is getting a high amount of targets, that means that that head coach, that offensive coordinator, and that quarterback, they want to go to that guy. Mm-hmm. So that's reliable. That's why some of these guys we're going to talk about, they had low targets and had some really good numbers. Yep. So that stuff is harder to repeat because you're basically saying that you want the guy to have a very high level of production and high efficiency on such a small volume of targets. But if you can constantly get a player week in and week out that's getting you 6, 7 plus targets as a wide receiver, that's the kind of guy you want to chase. So if Amendola could be that guy in this offense, because, you know, Stafford could come back healthy. We mentioned in the video in week 1 that he was dealing with a low back injury last year. So he's been a guy, even if he isn't the greatest real-life quarterback, always, and when he's healthy, puts up a crazy amount of passing yards, a lot of passing attempts. So, you know, it could be Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones Jr., and Danny Amendola.
And Hawkinson.
That can get work.
Who we are going to mention later. Yep. Now, a guy that we actually didn't mention that I forgot, Jamison Crowder.
My boy.
I totally forgot
Jamison
about
Crowder.
Jamison Crowder, owned in only 47% of Yahoo leagues.
I didn't even bring him up because I'm surprised about that. That it would only be on 47%.
Okay, guys, he had 17 targets. This is unheard of in fantasy football. I don't remember a player getting maybe Hopkins out of the Texans, or like guys like that are like elite wideouts get 17 targets.
Jamison Crowder.
I've never heard of a guy like getting 17 targets. I've never heard of it. And he got that in week 1 against Buffalo. He had 99 yards on top of that, a 41% target share. So
how many receptions?
I believe he had 14 receptions out of 17 targets.
Okay.
So talk about being a favorite option, I guess. For
I think especially because with Chris Herndon being out, I think this is something you're definitely going to see with Crowder, because, you know, it's really Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder. Mm-hmm. But now that, like I said, Chris Herndon IV is going to have that 4-game suspension. This is why I drafted Crowder. So that's why I didn't even think to bring him up, because I'm surprised that his ownership in Yahoo Leagues is only 47%. I understand that a lot of people fade him because while everyone recognizes that the talent's always been there, he's always dealt with lower body injuries. Even in the offseason, he came down wrong. And he came down funny on his foot, and they were worried. So this is one where, like, you're going to obviously say comes with a little bit of risk just because of the amount of injuries, but with the talent and the opportunity and the situation.
And look, Quincy Enunwa last year kind of had this role.
Yeah, I think in the earliest part of the season, right? He had a lot of targets.
So, like, he had random games where he had all these targets, and I was like, why is Quincy Enunwa getting all these targets? Because Sam Darnold needs that guy to throw short passes to, okay? Because he's getting rushed a lot. He's a young quarterback. Robbie Anderson is more of that number one. So who's going to be that number two that's going to be in the slot and all that? Now it looks like it's Jamison Crowder. So Crowder is that guy that can provide you that good floor because of that target share.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, so guys, look, when you're doing fantasy football, especially if you want to have a flex, like Crowder to me is like a great flex right now because of that floor. What is a floor? A floor is just when you know that you can expect a certain amount of points from a guy every single week. And if a guy's getting 17 targets or even less than that, he's going to give you points no matter what, especially if you're in a PPR league or half. You're going to get points for every single catch. So in a PPR league, he got 14 points just for catching the football.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Just all receptions.
That's crazy alone. So anyway, let's move on, and we're going to move on to my man Garrett's Jacksonville Jaguars.
No.
We're going to mention both guys, okay? We're going to mention first DJ Chark. So, Garrett, I'm going to give you the honor here. Can you talk about DJ Chark for me?
Okay, so there were a lot of people. I remember going on a bunch of channels, in the off season on YouTube or whatever, and a lot of people seemed to favor DJ Chark as a potential breakout candidate. And, well, what do you know? Against the Kansas City Chiefs, he had 4 targets. And of those 4 targets, he caught all 4 passes for 146 yards and a touchdown. And you'd be like, insane. Wow.
That's
an
insane
insane stat line. Gee, man, why would you be so down on DJ Chark? Because I'm a Jaguars fan, and I know what DJ Chark is. And this is not – DJ Chark is, like, to me – like the poor man's version of Deshaun Jackson. Like, you just need to throw it to this dude deep because he has blazing fast, straight line speed. But that's really it. They drafted him last year, probably way higher than they should have. There were definitely other wide receivers they could have drafted. He's out of LSU. He's only owned in 3% of leagues. So for me, I'm not even looking at DJ Chark.
Okay.
So
Okay,
Paul,
fine.
you can make comments about him if you want.
Well, look, I mean, guys, so when it comes to these guys that put up a big week one, you want to fade the hype. But again, if you have like an open roster spot, put down maybe $1 or don't even spend anything, and just see what happens. If a similar thing happens in week 2, then maybe you have a steal here. So who knows? But for now, Chark, because of the low amount of targets, like 4 targets compared to Jamison Crowder's 17, okay, for example, we would only put down maybe $1 or maybe nothing. We didn't mention Crowder's fab, but I would say Crowder, because of that target share, I don't know, man. You got to go with 5 or more?
Yeah, I'd say 5 or more for
5,
Crowder. Yeah.
5 or more Crowder because of that target share. So let's go with
jump over to the other Jaguars.
the other
wide
Jaguars,
receiver,
Chris Conley,
former Chiefs wide receiver. Yeah.
So Chris Conley is owned in only 1% of Yahoo leagues versus Chark's 3%. And Conley had more targets too. He caught 6 of 7 targets for 97 yards and a touchdown. So, G-Man, what do you think about Chris Conley?
Well, it kind of sucks because Nick Foles, as I alluded to in another video, he got hurt. He's going to be out for a long stretch of time. Maybe comes back at the very end of the season. Chris Conley was actually somebody that I kind of thought in my mind could be a sneaky play in this offense just because he did have a little bit of a history with Nick Foles over in Kansas City. And he just, to me, I think, compared to DJ Chark, I think I would rather actually put that little bit of fab money on Chris Conley than I would DJ Chark.
How much would you do on Conley? Maybe just like $1 or 2 more.
Yeah, like
$3 max.
$2 to $3.
Okay. So guys, so as far as the Jaguars studs here, we have DJ Chark owned in 3% of leagues. Put down $1 or nothing, and then for Chris Conley, put down maybe 1 to 3. And he's owned in 1%. Your next guy on your New England Patriots, Philip Dorsett. Philip Dorsett is owned in only 4% of Yahoo leagues. He went 4 for 4 with, I believe, 95 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1 against Pittsburgh. So, what should you do with Philip Dorsett? Probably don't do anything.
Nothing, yeah.
Probably don't do anything. Now it's really hard to just not pick up a guy that had a game like that. But look, the Patriots completely demolished the Steelers. And you have Antonio Brown and Thomas coming on this Patriots team. Dorsett is going to go right down in that totem pole. He's not going to get more targets than Edelman. He's not going to get more targets than Josh Gordon. He's not going to get more targets than those two guys we mentioned. So he's really fifth on this list out of wideouts.
And it's going to be hard to see that constantly get repeated. I don't think I would like the opposite.
That's not going to happen. We just don't see that happening. If Dorsett has another big game, it is only because of injuries. That is the only way. So Dorsett wouldn't even pick him up. I don't even think about picking him up. I wouldn't even fade him. Yeah. So
the last wide receiver we're going to go into is the rookie, one of my absolute favorites, 6th-round pick out of Fresno State for the Arizona Cardinals, Keyshawn Johnson. No, not the Keyshawn Johnson from back in the day in the Jets and the Bucks.
That guy.
No. We're talking about the
back?
rookie here. Dude. He came out of retirement. He's sick of analyzing games.
There's a blood relation.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway, so this was kind of a crazy game that the Cardinals had against the Lions, where they were down for almost the entire game, and they made this crazy rally and came back. Kyler Murray had about 54 passing attempts. So again, this is one where you got to be careful, right? Because it's like, how repeatable are some of these stats and situations? Keyshawn Johnson had 5 receptions, but he had 10 targets.
10 targets.
Only 46 yards, but still the targets, that's the thing you really want to see. That if Kyler had 54 attempts, that he went to him 1 out of every 5 passes pretty much.
Hey,
I like that a lot.
Not bad.
Like that a lot. I think the opportunity has always been there. Larry Fitzgerald still showed you he has the value, but he is getting older in his career. There's really just Christian Kirk. He's good too, but outside of that, I mean, Keyshawn really just has to compete with like Andy Isabella and Michael Crabtree.
Right there in 3
so I think all of season they were saying he was supposed to be the number 3. They liked him a lot. So I would say he's definitely someone who's only owned in 2% of leagues.
Why not?
I think just based on the bias that I have for him, I would definitely throw down fab money on him, because you heard all offseason this air raid offense. Cliff Kingsbury saying the NFL's never seen it before. He wants to get at least 70-plus plays a game. And, well, you know
54 passing attempts,
he was able to get that.
That is crazy as far as fantasy goes, and that provides you a good floor for all of your wideouts.
Volume and targets.
Volume and
then
targets.
Talent on top of it just helps.
So pick up Keyshawn for how much? How much would you throw? A few bucks maybe.
Yeah,
at least
3 to 5.
Yeah,
I like him a lot.
Okay.
If I didn't have him in some leagues, I'd put 5. That's again me biased. I did the analyzing of him before the season. Like him a lot. Like the situation.
Okay.
So that's that. Let's round this video out. Let's get into the tight ends real quick.
Okay, real quick on tight ends. So for tight ends, Darren Waller out of from the Oakland Raiders, owned in 45% of Yahoo leagues, had 7 of 8 targets for 70 yards. Guys, Antonio Brown is gone, and he never played a snap in Oakland.
Poor people that got Antonio Brown jerseys on the Raiders.
Oh my gosh, terrible. And Jared Cook is gone too.
Yep.
So a lot of people believe that Darren Waller is going to be that new type of Jared Cook. Jared Cook killed it last year as Derek Carr's just main guy out there in Oakland. And so, look, first game, Darren Waller gets 8 targets. He played a featured role in this game against a good Broncos defense.
I think this will be repeatable. The targets, especially, they're definitely.
So guys, pick up Darren Waller. I picked him up before the game, and I got really lucky. But I think because tight end, even though there are,
I think he's going to be one of the. That 45% ownership, I think, is going to go way up after week 2.
I can see Darren Waller. People throwing down maybe $20 on Darren Waller around there, because what if you did not draft a good tight end and you're struggling right now with tight ends? We have guys like Vance McDonald kind of didn't do well. We have guys that if you waited to draft a tight end and then you fell short, you got to pick up a guy like Darren Waller because he can provide you that TE1 floor kind of every week. And if he's anything like Jared Cook, man, he's going to be good. So pick up Darren Waller. How much money would you throw down on Waller, though? I would do maybe 10 at most.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do more than 10 on Waller. I wouldn't.
Yeah, it just depends, I guess, on your situation and needs. I would say,
but 10, expect people to throw down a lot on
10 to
Darren
15,
Waller.
somewhere in that range. It depends.
But people might throw down more on this guy. So T.J. Hawkinson, out of
the rookie,
out of the Lions,
the Detroit Lions. So we were not sure week 1 how this was going to look, because there's always the cliche about rookie tight ends, And I know in the offseason he wasn't even being on the depth chart as their number 1 tight end, but I guess against this Cardinals defense, they were like, all right, TJ, go show us what you're made of. And he did. He got 6 receptions on 9 targets, 131 yards, and a touchdown. So, I mean, again, this offense could just be pretty high-powered if Stafford can stay healthy. They have a lot of good Kerryon Johnson, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, Danny Amendola, and maybe TJ Hawkinson too. He's owned in 54% of leagues. This is another guy who we think his ownership rate is definitely going to go up.
Why not?
Whether or not this is going to be repeatable each week, not sure. But as long as he's in there, the targets will probably be there.
Yeah.
So why not just go ahead and put some money down on him too?
I mean, he kind of reminds me of Evan Ingram a little bit, a first-round draft pick. You know, this team really invests a lot in him, and then he starts getting work right away. So definitely, I can see him getting a lot of work every week here. You know, as far as helping Stafford out. And last but not least, old man Vernon Davis. Coming back,
owned in 3% of Yahoo fantasy leagues. He got, I think, what did I write there? 4 receptions on 7 targets.
7 targets.
For 59 yards and a touchdown.
Now, why is this important, guys? Because Jordan Reed is made out of glass, and he's hurt again.
Still dealing with the concussion issue.
So he's hurt right now. So if you're a Jordan Reed owner, definitely pick up Vernon Davis.
I think this is more for the Jordan Reed owners. But in general, there could be upside there,
Why not? Yeah, I mean, the Redskins showed that they're not as bad as we thought they would be. I mean, the offense was pretty efficient in week 1. Case Keenum can definitely lean on Vernon Davis at times, especially if he's being rushed. So Vernon Davis, I wouldn't throw down too much money on him.
I think you could get him for like $3 to $5. I think you could go pretty cheap
if you're a Jordan Reed owner.
Yeah.
I think if you're not a Jordan Reed owner, I wouldn't throw down 5. But if you're a Jordan Reed owner, you might have to, just because the guy gets hurt constantly.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, those are our waiver wire pickups and how much money you should spend.
And tight ends.
Yes. So, guys, again, it's week 1. Don't go crazy. Don't spend a lot of money. I'm in week 1, but for now, we hope that you enjoyed this video. And this is Pigskin Paisanos signing off.
Peace.